Hey y'all, Fred here. Thanks so much for joining me today. We are going to do some cut testing. I got a bunch of knives for Christmas from Santa Claus and family members who love me, and I ordered them specifically in a variety of different types of steel. This is the Sencut Serene, and it uses D2 steel, so this is going to serve as our baseline. Again, the whole point of this testing, at least this phase of my testing, is to really get some known good quality knives where we know the blades have been ground well and heat treated well and created well. So I've got a good, pretty sharp, good D2 steel from a known provider, and we're going to use that to compare some of our other replica knives that say they might be in D2 steel, but we don't really know. Just so you know, this is not an objective scientific bunch of tests. If that's what you're looking for, you're at the wrong channel. I got the redneck sharpness rating scale, which runs from a 1, which is basically cuts like a spoon, to 10, this thing could shave a possum and leave it looking proud. So that's my scale. I try to be a little objective, but there's way too many variables, and I'm sure I'll get lots of comments that your tests aren't objective. No, they're not, nor are they scientific. However, I'm doing it for myself. I just want to see. I have so many knives that are in so many unknown steels. I want to see how well some of those hold up to some good known knives. If you haven't yet, hit me a thumbs up down there. That really helps the algorithms and helps my videos get found. So I do appreciate that. Love all my subscribers. Really enjoy chatting with you guys. If you are not subscribed yet, you're missing out. Please hit that subscribe and notification bell. That also helps me out. So thank you very much for that as well. All right. Again, I did a full review on this video here on the channel. If you want to see the whole review on the Sencut Serene, which is what we have here, you are welcome to go and find that. This is an affordable EDC knife, just a hair under $47 on Amazon. I will put a link down below. That is an affiliate link. Thank you so much. If you want to buy using that, that really helps me out too, because I don't get sent many free knives, y'all. I have to buy this stuff. This is a D2 steel, so this is our baseline for our D2 steel. This is a great medium-sized knife, solid aluminum scales, no internal milling, so it does feel very solid. However, it is very light. It's only 3.42 ounces. Feels great in the hand. Tad long on this one, 8.17, so just a hair over 8 inches. You've got about a 3.6 inch cutting length, which is nice and big with this big sweeping belly because there's no finger choil there. The blade thickness, nice, 0.12. That is a pretty on the thin side. However, I got behind the edge of about 16 thousandths. So it could be better, but I mean, 16 thousandths, y'all, ain't that bad. So I'm not really complaining there. Nice long thin blade, big slicey belly. Aluminum scales are just a hair under a half inch at 0.46 inches to be exact. Again, as I mentioned, 3.42 ounces is the weight. This is obviously a button lock riding on bearings. It does have a really good detent. I've really enjoyed carrying and using this knife throughout my testing. You've got, of course, you can fail it, as you can see. You've got no lock stick, which is nice for these Sencuts. A lot of them will come with a little bit, but they break in pretty fast. That lock stick goes away. But really, the detent, I'm going to say, is about as good dialed in as you can get it for thumb studs as well as the flipper tab. And you can see this thing, it fires out nice and easy. So, again, I got a full review you can go see on that. Ergonomically, it feels good because there's no finger choil. You could use that as a trigger, but man, you are sitting right on top of the sharp parts. So I don't know that I would encourage that unless it's very delicate work that you're going to get to. You can certainly use it in pinch grip. It definitely can be, well, we're going to get to that when we get to the cutting there. But all in all, it feels good in the hand. It's a little on the thin side at 0.46. I'm going to say it's not too thin. There's definitely knives that are thinner out there, but I'm wondering how that's going to feel. It does have the typical 𝗬𝗲/Sencut Loch Ness Monster pocket clip that's awfully long. So we're going to see how that gets in my hand once we start digging in some hard cutting. Otherwise, all edges are nicely chamfered and cut down. This thing does feel good in the hand. I think this is a great EDC knife, actually. I'm rating this 8 out of 10 on the sharpness scale. I obviously did not sharpen it. I did strop it. But I think this thing really just could use a better edge on it, maybe a little thinner of the edge. You can see the edge on here is very thin, so I'm going to guess this is maybe 24 degrees because it looks awfully thin on both sides, really. If you can get the light to hit that right, just so you can see that edge, pretty flat. So probably somewhere in the 24 degree range, and I'll definitely sharpen that down. But it cuts, and it cuts cleanly and slowly, but it's definitely not as slicey as some of the others, and the edges are a little bit rough and ragged. But I mean, all day long you can cut all you want out of there. So plenty sharp, but still not razor sharp. So that gets an 8 out of 10 on the old redneck rating scale. All right, with that being said, let's get to cutting.
All right, so like the other cut tests that we've done so far, I've just cut down a couple of box pieces to about 400 square inches on this one, $3.99. If you want the exact number, we'll have it in the table at the end when we see our results. And obviously speeding up the flow here a little bit, because it gets boring after a little while staring at some guy cutting up cardboard. So this is a question I have for y'all. Do y'all really want to see how it actually cuts and goes through? Do you want to see it in slow real time, or do you just want to see that, hey, he really did cut up 400 square inches? Again, there's nothing truly scientific, because each strip that I'm cutting is a somewhat different width. So I can't imagine or begin to count the number of actual cuts and then the length of each cut. That would be just crazy and make this video insane. But I'm trying to hold it in different ways. In this case, you've got the Serene, which is a nice D2 steel. And it's actually done a great job going through this cardboard pretty well. It's a relatively thin and slicey knife. Doesn't have a forward finger choil, so you've got a long, thin blade with a nice big belly. But I can definitely tell as I get to the end of the cardboard here that this is definitely taking a little bit of edge abuse. And because of the kind of boxes I'm cutting, it has a bunch of tape residue on it. So I definitely realized I need to clean that residue off. This cleaning, by the way, is KPL Knife Shield. I'll put a link down below. If y'all haven't ever tried that, one, it's great for D2 steel, which is not as corrosion resistant. That'll actually kind of build a little layer into the steel that helps protect it from corrosion, which I didn't really want to do with this knife. I wanted to see how well it would hold up. But anyhow, I needed to get the gunk off, so let's see how well it cuts now. You can see we definitely have put some damage on this blade. It's hard for me to tell. I'm trying to really give it a real shot. Is it me? Is it cutter error? Or is it the blade? And y'all, I think y'all know I have cut enough paper by now in testing all the different knives we've reviewed to know if it's me or the blade. But you know, I'm gonna go get a fresh piece of paper just to be sure. Want to make sure I'm giving it every chance. So I rate this about a 6 or 7 in terms of sharpness. So we started at a 9 and we dropped it all the way down to 6 or 7 after cardboard. So now we go to the nylon reinforced rubber hose. This is another good edge killer. You can see it takes a good bit of effort to get this blade through that hose there. Again, we're starting out with a blade that's maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10 on the sharpness scale, so we're definitely putting some more damage on it, and that's the goal, is try to make roughly the same kind of cuts in the same kind of materials across a bunch of different knives and see which ones actually hold up well. And I had high hopes for this. In the D2 steel, you would think that it's supposed to maintain an edge a little bit better. But even through the cutting tests so far, we've seen it definitely dulled a lot more just from the cardboard than some of the other knives we've tested. So let's put it back on the paper again and see kind of where we're at. That's a little deceptive. I'm trying both fast and slow and holding it in different ways and holding the paper differently. Really trying to get a sense here of how well does this thing cut? Where's my edge at this point in time? So we have definitely knocked it back. We're easily now for sure a 6 on the cutting test. So let's jump into our rope cutting tests. This one isn't going to fare too well. We're already starting with a 6 out of 10 in terms of sharpness, and that's maybe being even a little bit generous. I'm going to try holding it different ways. Can I do it with that finger extended? No, it really takes everything you've got. You can see me rocking. Of course, that table is just a little card table, a little plastic table. It doesn't have the best stability to begin with, but you can see I am definitely having to saw through this rope just to get through. And really, after a couple of attempts there, I thought, well, the belly is going to be big enough, but no. All right, let's try putting it up on a board and seeing if I can get towards the back of the blade. Maybe that part of the blade still has some sharpness, and nope, you can see. I actually called it at just 6 cuts. I should normally do 10. That's my little sheet, by the way, that I keep all my notes in as we're going through the tests. and just this edge is more or less toast. You wouldn't do this normally with a sharp knife, right? So clearly we've put some damage on this thing, and let's see if I can get it rated on the old redneck rating scale on how it performs on paper. And at this point, I'm just, this thing is about toast. I gave it a 5, and then, oh, you know what? Maybe this thing is actually a 4. I think probably a 5 is being generous with it at this point. So let's try the ergonomics test here, just to grip the knife. How does it hold up? Is this 𝗬𝗲𝗃𝗃 Sencut type pocket clip really going to stab me like most of them tend to do? Sometimes the knife handle geometry and shape and size makes that less of an issue. Well, what I've discovered here, you'll see it in a minute, is where the place I'm cutting is a really hard piece of wood. This is just a piece of pine board. But anyhow, that's good because it makes me really grip that knife hard, and you can see I am definitely feeling the old pocket clip there. Is it brutal? No, but now you can see I've found the softer side of that wood, and it tends to bite in a little bit better. And again, this is not so much a sharpness test, although it should further diminish the blade sharpness. This is, how does this thing feel in the hand? This is one you'll feel in the hand. So if you've got to do all day kind of work, heavy duty stuff with this really hard gripping, cutting, you know, this may or may not be the right knife for you. It's maybe just better for a good general EDC. So let's get back on the paper again. Let's see. Can we cut anything at all? Remember, we started at basically a 4 or a 5 on out of 10 on the cutting strength before we started into this board. So now I had to go get another piece of paper. I'm really trying, you know, is this just me? Have I totally forgotten how to cut? Or is this blade as cooked as it feels like it is? And yeah, you can see it's pretty well cooked at this point in time. It's not going to even cut through paper. Very disappointing. I was expecting so much more out of this D2 steel. I really had high hopes, thinking, wow, this is going to be my edge retention champ. And 4 is generous. You can see I put a little 3 there in the corner. Let's go ahead and strop this thing back up, see if we can make any headway in trying to restore this blade. You know, D2, again, being a little bit more edge retentive, I guess would be the word, means you're going to have to strop it a little bit more. So you'll see here, I try to do my weird little personal pattern, about 4, 5, 6 strokes on each side to get it started. I've also started this off on the rough side of my strop. You know, some have a rough side and some have the smooth side. So now I flip it over to the smooth side. When I know it needs a little extra love, I tend to just start it out on the rough side with a few good strokes. I don't know if that truly makes a difference. It feels to me like maybe that sharpens it up a little more, a little faster, but it's, you know, not as smooth, so it could potentially not give you an even, I guess, sharpness all the way across the blade. It's about 40 passes or so, and I'm still feeling this thing, and I'm not too confident that that made a whole lot of difference. It's definitely a little bit better. We're getting closer, but you know, I definitely wouldn't put this thing past a 6 or a 7 still. So let's go a few more rounds on the strop. I think all in all, I did about 60 or 70 passes on the strop throughout both of these little stropping sessions, just to see if I could get this thing back at all, or I'm definitely going to have to put it on the work sharp. But you can see after 60 or 70 passes, which makes sense because D2 is a tougher steel, or at least holds an edge better, so it takes more effort to sharpen it back. So not bad. I'm going to give this a final score after stropping of a 7. So let's take a quick peek at all of our stats here, my test results, and see what we came up with today. All right, so we can see now the Sencut Serene in D2 down the right column of the page with all the previous tests we've done before it. Again, this is a D2 steel. Sencut says that it's about a 59 to 61 on an HRC. I don't question that, really. It took a bit of extra work to get it stropped back, although it lost its edge very quickly. But you never know with a factory edge, and that's the problem with all of these. I probably need to go back and resharpen them myself on the old Work Sharp system, put a nice angle on it, and come back and do some testing. That's where you're really probably going to get a better sense of what it's really capable of. Knife Steel Nerds ranks D2 a 5 out of 10 on their scale. I did not sharpen it first. We started at about a 9. I did 400 square inches, 399 if you want to be exact, of cardboard. And after that, that put a big dent on the blade. That started the downhill slide rapidly. So we ended up a 6 or a 7, probably a 6 on the sharpness after that. We cut our hose up and ended up definitely at a 6 at best. Then I tried to do 10 rope cuts, couldn't even make it through all 10. I gave up after 7. I just said, no more. This thing is just not cutting it at all. I think we're being generous to give it a 5. It's really probably a 4 on sharpness after that. Then we hacked on the wood. The ergonomics weren't as comfortable as I had hoped they would be. They weren't terrible. I mean, you know, I'm going to give it a 5 or 6 out of 10 in terms of comfort for hard use. Now, that's just for hard use. For normal EDC use, man, this thing is a 9 out of 10. It's very comfortable in the hand for light cutting stuff. Straps, rope, cardboard, no problems with any of that. That's a piece of cake. But when you really start digging into that hard usage where you have to grip the knife really hard and it's getting, you know, pressure from the wood, it drops it down to a 5 or so. The clip does poke into you a little bit. And then we ended up at a 3 or 4, had to do a ton of stropping, probably 60 to 70 strops, I would say. I didn't even really go back and count them all. And that got us back to a 7. Not great, but given the fact that it was basically at a 3 out of 10 on sharpness before we started, you know, you can only do so much with a strop. If you let your edge get that dull, then it's going to definitely take a little more work than stropping. I could probably sit and strop it 100 times and get it back to a 9, but I'll probably now at this point just want to put it on the work sharp and really give it a new grind angle, cut away that material. You know, could it have been a burnt edge? Very possible. Could it be a relatively high angle degree going into it? That's also very possible. So we'll give it another shot after really sharpening it up. But this is probably, again, one of the worst performers in terms of how far did it fall during our tests. You can see the CJRB pyrite fell from an 8 to a 3, but I didn't have as much hope for the ARRPM9 steel. I was really hoping that the D2 would be one of the best performers. The Beluga, which is in K110, which is equivalent to D2 steel, it was one of the best performers. It started out sharp and ended up sharp. It cut through all those tests with no problems. So I'm going to say there's no question in my mind that the Sencut Serene in D2, as it came from the factory, definitely could not hang with the Beluga, the petrified fish Beluga in the K110 steel. There's a clear difference, and that's what I'm looking for is, does this knife work better than that knife, or does it hold an edge better than that knife? Does it feel better than that knife, etc.? So there you go. Hopefully that is interesting and provides you guys a little bit of feedback. Let me know down in the comments if you would like to see me do this a different way. Would you rather I slowed down the cutting? I just tried to speed all that up to get through it quickly and make it relatively painless for everybody. Is there something else you would like to see more of or less of? Should I just cut out, you know, all of the cardboard cutting after the first few strokes and you'll just trust me that I cut that much cardboard? Let me know what y'all think about how I could do this a little bit better that would keep it interesting and engaging for you guys. As always, I really appreciate your comments, everybody who gives me feedback down there. Thanks for all the subscriptions. If you're not subscribed, please do that. That really helps little channels like us get found on the YouTube, so thank you for doing that. As always, I look forward to hearing from you. Throw your boy a thumbs up on the way out. I would really appreciate it. Otherwise, y'all have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.